Hello, beautiful being on the other side of the screen. This is Lizzie Butterfly coming to you with Nervous System Mastery Part 5. I can't believe we're doing this already. Like 5, the 5th one. This is so exciting. With today's, I am feeling a little bit, are we really going to talk about this? Are we really going to reveal the beyond? And all at the same time, I'm so excited as well because I know so many of you are raring to understand how to bring your cosmic intelligence, that next level consciousness, that next level field, that soul level expression, all the way down into the regulated body. And I have had a fair share on this. I've gone, oh my goodness. I recall the very first time I consciously understood there could be something else than, this. I was so young, and I remember sitting in our kitchen, and there was this lady who used to come over on the weekends. She would have tea and cake with my mom, Portuguese lady. And, they would just talk about all kinds of things, mostly about the children and, about what we're going through and all of that. And most of the time, I wasn't even in the kitchen. But I remember that every time I would kind of go and peek in the kitchen just to see if, they would talk about the things again. The witchy things. And of course they did every single time. And as I listened to these stories, it always felt like this place very, very far away. This mystical, a little bit treacherous, a little bit dangerous, a little bit, does it really work, right? And as I'm, looking back on these stories today, I'm not sure if all of these things were done with the highest integrity, the way that I've then, learned about later. And obviously that stuff works, right? Obviously there's another realm beyond this. Obviously now, to me, there is so much more into the energetics than we give it credit for. And I just remember sitting there in awe, just literally waiting for the next piece and the next piece to drop. And I could feel my entire body just titillating, or I don't even know what to say around this because it was so exciting and yet terrifying and mystical and confusing all at the same time to hear these ladies speaking about how these witches back in the country, back in the countryside, would do these things to people and would, sort of create these spells for, lovers to come back and for families to release and for tension to be resolved and all of these things. Hi, Laura. So we're talking about cosmic intelligence and how to bring the cosmic into the body. And so I would sit there on the edge of the table, like literally listening to all of the things coming through and all of the places, that they were telling me, and the next piece and the next piece. And it's like, somehow it was a little forbidden because at the time it was still, we were still going to church and we were still, very much in that whole thing, but it still excited me. I wanted to know, like, what would these women do, when they pulled the cards and, they would tell you the truth about, a picture of someone that, they never saw in their entire lives. And literally from a picture, they could create all of these spells that would, magically turn around entire families. And I was just on the edge of the chair, feeling into it. Oh my goodness, like, could this really work? And obviously you would have to be some kind of magical, because I had no clue how to tap into that level reality at that time. And I didn't know, right? It was only so much later that I started to get into this. And I just remember my little girl body. And I remember the sensations I would have in my body, and especially the sensations of alienation to, you must be very, very special if you have gifts like that. And you must have been born into some kind of family in order to have gifts like that. And you would probably be even, in danger. You would have to hide your life away because obviously, if people would find out that you had these gifts, and you would not be able to use them right, then, people would be scorning you and all of that. So I had all of this imagination in my mind. But today I'm just feeling so much love for my younger self, because obviously coming to you from the other side where I have done readings, probably hundreds of readings, and I've worked with energies for so long now. And I just, feel into this as the greatest piece there truly was believing that it was somehow external, that, it's like another person who would have these superpowers. And I couldn't tap into this. Of course, at the time I didn't know. But the thing is, what I know today is we can all do this. Like, we can all tap into this subconscious realm. We can all excavate and pull out things from the unknown into the known. And it is such a gift. And it's not only a gift, it's such a freaking phenomenal tool for our lives when we can actually use our full range multidimensional capacity, where we literally connect and pull in and, pull in information from the field. And that, when you then combine it with regulating practices and with understanding how the nervous system works and with, mindset, but not just mindset, also the understanding and the visionary and the lucidity that you can have about what your body is telling you, and what your body is telling you, the way that it actually transmits and, translates signals from the field. And that we all know this, I know, can sound for some people like, wait a minute, what do you mean? And it's like, wait, what do you not mean? Because obviously we all have it. And obviously we could all tap into it. We might just not choose to, and that's an entirely different story. So some of the trials and tribulations that I've had with my multidimensionality have been very interesting, because in the beginning, when I started to find these connective consciousness tissues, I was marveled. I'm like, what? I can literally feel into my heart and receive information about whether that's the path I should choose. Like, what? I can turn into my womb's intelligence and feel if this is the man that I want to spend the rest of the evening with. Like, what? I can do this? I was just enamored with the idea of it. But then, obviously also using it for professional purposes and, reading the cards for friends and clients and all of that. It just all kind of opened up this energy of, there's so much more to this. And not only is there so much more to this, but then the people who started to come into my spaces also started to tap into their, multidimensional intelligence, and how literally our body soma intelligence can be a transposition of sorts, right? Just like maybe at the time this lady wasn't conscious as she was sitting at the table speaking to my mom, about witches back in Portugal in the mountains. But somehow there was a transposition of her fear and all her feelings into my body at that time. And I can clearly see how I was absorbing it all, because as children, we are so candid and so innocent. And, we're not just hearing the stories, we're also absorbing so much. And that has been, I feel, one of my biggest tribulations throughout my evolution, is to clear out my body from the programming that I received consciously or subconsciously about multidimensionality, because this is literally the topic of today. But literally, this could be about everything, right? We literally are, as children, like little sponges, and we will be absorbing not only the stories and the information that we are cognitively receiving, we are also absorbing, through our body, the state in which people are in when they are telling us a story, when they're giving us instructions, when they're educating us, when they're telling us yes or no, right? We're receiving all of that. And that's an entire blueprint that often as adults, like that literally is the first place where we have to learn how to dissociate between what's ours and what's theirs. And that work is multidimensional work, because you're not running around all day long thinking that everything you operate from is actually because your dad or your mother told you a certain way, and that you were even thinking and feeling a certain way about you, that you're still carrying that today, right? Like, how, right? This has to be multidimensional work, because it's the understanding and the consciousness and the awareness. So we're opening up all of the channels to receive information, but also to understand information, to understand how we are registering things, and then how to use this information we have understood, metabolized, alchemized, and then, having the mastery to pull it out of our bags whenever we need it. And so multidimensional consciousness, to me, has been one of the crucial pieces to work with women, because as women, we are normally very naturally tuned in. I mean, if you really look back at, certain people you have frequented in your life, certain men that you have dated, certain people who were just in your life, if you're really honest with yourself, those people who were, let's label them toxic. I don't like labeling people, but let's label them just for that moment. I'm pretty sure there was a moment in that evolution where you felt something's off here. I'm kind of, externalizing some kind of power with me. I'm not really playing the connection to the point where I could. Most likely there were red flags. Most likely you have noticed things. Most likely there were things in the unseen, unknown, unsaid, unexpressed, invisible, that if you're really tune in to what you know to be true now, most likely you captured information that was giving you off signals. And so I just want you to, lean in here and tell me, from a scale of 1 to 5, like 1 being completely aloof, I have no idea what you're talking about, Lizzie, to 5, ding, 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 like that is an acute yes. Like there was definitely something where I could see the red flag. I could see the dissociation experience. I could see how I was giving away my power. I could see how I was contorting, right? And trying to be someone I wasn't. What you were doing was to sort of tint off away so that you would receive that person, although that was not your true color. And so, yeah, I love it. 4, of course, right? Because we are sentient beings. We feel the full spectrum. We understand information very, very well, okay? And most of the people that I work with have, tendency to being between a 3 and a 5 when it comes to, receiving information from people. And that is because very often we grew up in childhoods where there was a lot of turbulence and where we were not honored in our expression. And that's not to say that we were all, in terribly abusive childhood experiences, but we were most likely in childhood experiences where our expression was somehow shut down, where it wasn't fully received, where it wasn't really honored to that point of intimacy where we actually felt respected for who we truly were. And so due to that, also one thing that interlinks very often with this is that we were made responsible way too soon. So I know for me, I definitely, lost my childhood very early on because I had to take responsibility over my little brother because my mother was working. So I had to take on the role of being, a mother. And this isn't to discredit my mother, like she was doing the best she could. But from that experience, what I learned is I have to be serious. I have to, make sure that I don't open the door to someone, and all of these are, of course, very rightful experiences of growing up. And, they are sometimes painful or more or less painful for some of us. But the truth is, we basically start to learn to guard ourselves and to, be a certain way so that the adult will accept us, so that the adult will love us and will tell us, yes, this is being a good girl. You're doing right. You're doing it right. But with that responsibility also comes the loss of childhood innocence and comes the loss of play and curiosity. And sometimes also comes the shutting down of our multidimensional self. And so I also want to just frame here, it's no one's fault, right? Like, this is life. Like, we can't be children all of our lives. It's just when we then grow up and we're still running around like little children, we're still running around with unprocessed rage, unprocessed sadness, unprocessed shame. What it then does, it starts to cloud our sense of knowing, right? So then into adults, what then tends to happen is, we will contort, we will accommodate, we will go, oh no, that red flag is not so bad. Let me just, clear it. It's fine. I'll be okay. Right? We start to tint off from our own original color because we want to accommodate people. And that is where then our full body sense starts to shut down. And then we start to become people pleasers and we start to become codependent and we start to make people, responsible for our feelings, right? Because we're then kind of like turning the spin on this. Or, we sometimes even become a little bit abusive ourselves, like not in the abuse that we will abuse someone, but we become emotionally guarded to such a way where we can't receive someone else's true expression. And we almost would, if we could, force them to just be a certain person. And so it can kind of pull in and out from different directions. But what I want you to notice here is that with all of that survival responses, what tends to take place is truly that we are shutting off our full expression, knowing, and wisdom. And so I just want you to sit with that. Like, where did you turn down the volume on your multidimensional experience? Where did you cloud your sense of knowing, right? Some of it may be trauma, right? Some of it may just be you becoming a mature adult and just protecting yourself, like self-preservation, self-protection. And then I just want you to feel into, like, if you can, feel into which part of it did you receive from someone else that you guarded, right? Like, there's energy around your soma body, like multidimensional body, that isn't actually yours. And which one is self-imposed, right? Usually from that serious adult that is actually toning down your experience of life. And if I were to go to the edge of this, what I have noticed is that this is where burnout lives. This is where depression lives. This is where, independence lives. These are all of the places where we basically not only shut down our full body knowing and our multidimensional knowing, but we also shut down the joy to life. And so, yeah, just feel into that right now. And like, this isn't about, oh my gosh, it's there and I have to change it now and I have to remove it. Like, there's nothing bad with this. We all have this, okay? This is about just feeling into it. It's like, oh, interesting. Like, that's currently there. That's currently here. And this is currently where I'm experiencing disassociation from life. And right now, I just want you to feel into it and just send it forgiveness. And send it love. Because truly what it's trying to do, it's trying to protect you. It's trying to, clean up, in a way, the pain. But it may be working in your favor, it may not be working in your favor. And this is the place where our multidimensional self needs to come on board. Because like, if we're trying to hold this in our own strength alone, we will most likely get a little bit erratic, right? Because it's a part of the process. So if you're calling in your highest self, your highest wisdom, if you're calling in, your divinely accepted version of you, right? If you call that space in energetically and, just tell that energetic portal, field, clothing, persona to lift off of that armor and to place divine protection instead. And so from a scale of 1 to 5, 1, you're not feeling anything, to 5, you're fully feeling the whole thing. How does that land for you? Like, where is the shift for you? Part trauma, part no, clearly communicating what I desire in a partner. I love this. So lucid, so good. So between 1 and 5, if you're asking for your divine self, right? Your higher self, your soul, body, consciousness field, which is there, to come in and lift the heaviness of that armor. Do you feel the shift? And if yes, on a scale from 1 to 5, where does that drop in for you? And give yourself time. Allow yourself to just really drop in. Like calling in that elevated version of you. Okay, you're on a 3. Good. So that means, most likely, that either the load is really, really heavy and, you may have more, conscious work to do, as in it's not clear exactly, where the patches are. You may want to go in and actually now go and process that, some part of that pain. Or you're evolving on your consciousness journey and you're learning how to expand that vision. And so this is about also simultaneously, could be both, that you're actually building rapport with your elevated version of you, with that higher self, with that soul body. And I have found on my journey that I've always had to do both. There were phases in my life where I was like, okay, this is healing. This is about alchemizing. This is about truly dropping in, going into my embodiment practices and really looking at what is that pain that is, creating a clog around my soma. And then there were phases in my life where it was like, okay, I now need to let go of trying to fix and alchemize and process, and actually lean into trust more, and lean into that courageous, embodied version of me that is multidimensional, right? And sometimes I've done both simultaneously, where, I have actually requested this elevated vision version of me to come through and actually guide me as I'm doing my healing process. And so as we're strengthening both of these muscles, I feel like this is where we are becoming more and more and more embodied as we're moving through the world, because we are calibrating. And this is one piece where I feel also I want to drop in today. Our nervous system is actually our light body. So the more that we have, let's say, mastery over our human version, and mastery, I don't mean we have to tame it. With mastery, I mean we know, right? We come to know that which is in the unknown. We pull it up and we open the consciousness in the field, and we see, okay, like if I'm with a partner who keeps, continuously like not communicating with me, that just doesn't work for me. Like, I know that doesn't work for me, right? It doesn't work for me in this phase. Maybe it worked for me in another phase. It doesn't work for me now, okay? But then is also the knowing that, well, actually, I'm going to choose to be with a partner like this because right now it means that I am working on myself and I am connecting with a deeper part of me. And clearly, from my highest perspective, I can see that, like, it can't be that this person can trigger so much in me, like, and that's just a choice. But the thing is, working on both of these pieces and strengthening your muscles on both of these ends, it's like on one end, you're embodying, you're regulating, you're centering yourself, and you're understanding more of yourself, which includes your past, which includes, hi Magnus, which includes your past, which includes your connection with yourself and your evolution as a human on the planet. But the other perspective is almost like once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Just like me hearing these stories from, with these women like talking about witches. It's like, oh, what? There is a thing like that? And honestly, today I know like this was a divine guidance, right? Like these women weren't just there talking about witches because they were talking about witches. They were there because my soul was like, we are going to place something in your field that's going to make you curious about finding out more about becoming a little bit enticed to go look beyond, right? And that's exactly what I did, right? I became obsessed about esotericism and all of the things, which honestly led me into the path where I'm at now. But the thing is, sometimes our soul is sprinkling little seeds for us to go and crack open. And what I have come to see is that every time we hit there's something here that's like pulling, that's feeling more like trauma, that's feeling like, this person seems to like awaken this pain portal in me. It's probably our soul also coming in. You've got growth to do, baby. Do you want to have another round or you want to solve it now? You get to choose. But the thing is, you're going to have to solve it, okay? You're going to have to look at it. And so the very first two people usually that we tend to do this work with is our parents, right? Mother lineage, father lineage. And then this will show up in our partnerships if we haven't looked at it. And so most of the time when we're actually looking to have better relationships, like those people who actually come in and like pull all of your bad triggers, all of the ones that feel the most painful, if you can sit through this, if you can truly honor it and look at it from all of these perspectives, from yes, your human perspective, are you actually capable of holding the heat in that moment? But also on the other perspective, okay, are you willing to lean in and, become bigger than what your human self thinks it is? Because most likely you are, okay? Hi, Leandro. So nice to see you. So, yeah, I feel truly complete with this. If you would like to do coaching with me, like, let's do it. I would love to have you on. So this is your moment now. If you want to come in and have, us one-on-one right here, I would love to chat with you. So just drop a heart into the comments if you would like to chat to me, and also maybe, write the theme that you want to talk about, and let's get going. And if not, then we are complete here, and that's perfectly beautiful. And let me see if I have, yes, I've got my water bottle here. Okay, I'm not sure if here with Facebook, it's the same as with Facebook where we have to wait a little bit. Okay, so would both of you would like to come on and chat with me about all things multidimensionality? This doesn't have to just be coaching. Like, we could literally just have a conversation about what you have learned on your journey between your nervous system and your cosmic mastery, like how that has played out for you, how it came on. I would love to know. And just drop a heart in the comments and I will invite you. And of course, this can also be just us having, questions and answers, if you have any questions. Okay, I can see, Laura, that you sent me a request. Would you like to come on? Let me know and I will invite you up. Okay, my loves. Okay, so I guess we are complete here. Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, beautiful beings, thank you very much for dropping in. This is so much fun, and thank you for being here, and I will see you next week at 6 p.m. Mwah! See you soon.